you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com. The Big O Radio Show is looking for partners to join our growing platform. If your business is ready to reach an audience that starts in Florida, crosses the nation while expanding internationally, this is the program that provides that vehicle. The Big O Radio Show is ready to broadcast live anywhere in the world to represent your event or product. To reach out by phone, 786-754-4664. That's 786-754-4664. Or email bigoradioshow@yahoo.com. Help us grow as we provide the content and personal connection corporate entities will never achieve.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
Oh, I think I know what this is. Houston, we have a package. Hello?
No matter where you are, the Sloman Shield home security system guards your home. With next-gen perimeter protection, 24/7 monitoring, and interior motion sensing. And right now, get a free Sloman Shield security system and doorbell camera, all professionally installed, for free.
Shield your world, the Sloman Shield.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at
Welcome to Red Light Therapy, a revolutionary technology perfected by NASA to aid in muscle strengthening and recovery. Red, an infrared light, has the capacity to penetrate deep into the cell's mitochondria, potentially leading to increased energy, faster recovery, and the optimal performance your body demands. Evolve your training and step into the new era of muscle recovery. Red Recover.
Statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc., ownership, management, sponsors, or website. The Hurricanes game is over. Time to break it down. It's all about the U. The Edge Energy Drink Miami Hurricanes Postgame Show has made landfall. The post-game show is on the SportsTalk305 Network and broadcasting live from Walk-On Sports Bistro in Kendall. The show is mastered by Sean Stanley and Chad Shobe. Visit Walk-On Sports Bistro in Kendall at 9065 Southwest 162nd Avenue. Enjoy Walk-On's authentic and mouth-watering Louisiana cuisine prepared fresh from scratch. Closes daily at midnight 7 days a week. Here's your hosts, Orlando Alzugaray and Mike McCoy.
Yes, the pain is over, 42-16 as the University of Miami drop to 5-7 on the season. There will be no bowl game academically or athletically. It won't happen in today's world, unfortunately. Just an ugly game from the get-go. Once Tyler was pretty much knocked out, the wind was out of my sails, I can tell you that. I mean, if there was anything to hope for was and then early on, some of the passes looked like it had some zip on it and all that. But then once the kid gets slammed to the ground, unfortunately.
Which tells me he wasn't 100%.
Yeah. No, obviously.
I mean, we knew that.
There was no way he was going to be 100%. But he was good enough for a couple of plays there. Although that interception was bad. Ooh,
how will Mike spin this? You guys are idiots. Mike doesn't spin anything. Mike just says things that you don't like to hear. The only spin on it is that there is no spin, and they outscored Pittsburgh in the final quarter. What the hell do you want from me? Get out of here.
Yeah. So, are you all right? Are you gonna make it?
Oh, I'm gonna make it. It's just people don't like unpopular opinions, and since I have them, and I see both sides of the fence, when there's idiot fans out there that don't like it, like the Fire Gaddis and the Fire Mario crowd right now.
No, they're firing Mario is
like, get out of here,
just stupid. Although I will say this, and it falls under Mario's watch. Yeah. This is the worst season I have ever seen of Canes football, and Mario and his staff, unfortunately, are going to have to own up to this one. This is all on them because this has been an outright disaster. Now, having said all that doesn't mean I have lost any kind of confidence in Mario Cristobal whatsoever. Okay? But I understand that the optics of all of this, it's just absolutely brutal. And so I get it, but again, it's kind of the whole thing with with Tua for 2 years. And you're trying to explain that the environment wasn't any good. Well, that's kind of what I'm going to tell you here, that the environment isn't any good. And it's up to Mario now to create a much better environment for next year. And then from there on out, he's got to continue to get this team better and better year in and year out. What you see from Mike Norvell in year 3, Mike, that's what I want to see from Mario. I want to see improvement in year 2, and I want to see you in year 3 where you're really taking a step forward, that next year FSU should be challenging for the ACC title, and that's kind of the same kind of gradual process that I want to see for the University of Miami. Unfortunately, we got to fight through this season, man, and it was brutal. It was freaking brutal. Worst season ever I've ever experienced and I've been watching the Canes since I was a kid in the 70s, going to the Orange Bowl when there were like 8,000 people there. Okay. Actually, more people at the game in the 70s than right now in 2022, actually.
I think the announced attendance, Sean had said it was like 46, which is, wow. I mean, I think that's probably stretching it.
Yeah, you think?
5-7, now that the game's officially over, because we actually started when it was about finishing, but 5-7, 3-5 in the conference. 5 games lost at home for the first time since 1975. 4th time this season that Miami has allowed 40 or more points.
Terrible.
All of those were at home, guys.
Yeah.
In no particular order: Middle Tennessee State, Duke, FSU, and tonight. Did I say 5 or 4? It's 4. Okay. Yeah. And that's a first for me, okay? That's a first for me. I don't know how many of our fans listening or watching have experienced it longer than that or more than that, but this sucks. It hurts. And look, I'm just going to put a number on it, or maybe you could participate in the chat. I'm assuming there's just going to be at minimum 30 to 35, maybe even 40 new faces that you see next season. Not suiting up, but playing next season. Which tells me, which leads me to believe that next season is not going to be that much different, I don't think, because it's going to be so many young guys playing.
I hope so.
Oh, listen to me. There's going to be so many young guys playing Think about the young guys you wanted to protect this season because they were young. Think about that.
Yeah, but you're also going to get a lot of transfers next year.
That is true.
So you're going to get guys that are juniors and seniors transferring over for their final year or two of eligibility. And I think you're going to get several of those because you kind of want to make sure that you are competitive. Listen, Mario can't go into a complete rebuild next year.
No.
He can't have another one of these seasons. He has to be somewhat competitive next year, and he has to win at least 7, 8, 9 games next year. He's got to find a way to do a lot better than he did this year, and they cannot look like this disaster that they looked like this year. And I get it, new systems, players that are probably not used to, really working hard and getting it done. But either way, man, it is absolutely brutal. Adam Burke, thank you for the love on the super chat. He says, let's go, Big O, you're the best. So, Pitt legit?
They've always been a solid team.
I mean, they're solid, but,
they've never scared anybody. Look, this is the first time in 5 years Pitt beat Miami.
Miami's just bad. That's all.
Yeah, Miami's bad.
It's not
Pitt's
anything
not
about
bad.
Pitt. It's just, Miami's terrible.
I mean, Pitt
Terrible.
you look at their schedule this year, and just to answer everybody's question as to how good or legit Pitt is, they beat West Virginia, Western Michigan, Rhode Island, Virginia Tech, Syracuse that was ranked 20th at the time, Virginia, Duke, and Miami.
Powerhouse. They're an absolute powerhouse.
They lost to Tennessee by 1 score. They lost to Georgia Tech by 5 points. They lost to Louisville, and they lost to UNC by...
How is Pitt not in the playoffs?
They got 8 wins. They got 8 wins. But, I mean, this is the first time in 5 seasons that Pitt beat Miami. Miami was looking to beat them for the 5th time in a row tonight. The last win Pitt had against Miami was in 2017. So Miami's had Pitt's number. This year wasn't another number.
Oh, God. It's bad, bro. This is just one of those things that we hope that we never have to experience again. And then we hope Mario gets this thing rolling next year and gets it going in a much better direction because I'll tell you this. If Mario wants to really lose the fan base, have another season like this. And you'll see, because you can't look this combobulated, this undisciplined. There's a lot of adjectives I can use to describe this team, and none of them are good. And I got to tell you, as a fan, and not just sitting here and doing the pre and post game show, but like a buddy of mine asked me, like, "Wow, you're gonna have a long night?" And I said, "Dude, it's about tomorrow night. I mean, it's about tomorrow afternoon. It's about the Dolphins getting through, because I need the Dolphins to win to justify what I'm doing tonight. Because I knew that the Canes were going to justify me being here. And once Van Dyke went out, it was just one of those things that just, there was no shot anymore at this point. It was over. It was like, I didn't even think that they would win anyways, as you all know. But at least with Van Dyke, you might think something. But you can't do this anymore. You can't have a season like this anymore if you're Mario Cristobal and his staff. So he's got to fix his stuff with his staff. If you're going to keep Gaddis, then you better get some philosophically straightened out and get it done. Or if you're going to make that change, then you make that change. But all I know is that next year cannot resemble anything like this season. Okay? That's all I can tell you. You cannot look this poorly coached and just inconsistent. No. You can get beat, but get beat because you played well and they were better. And today when you're at, I know, Adam, you're joking around with Pitt, but, you're pathetic. So you can't even beat an average team like Pitt. That's bad.
You look at the losses that Miami had this year, the close losses that Miami had this year. Those close losses are at A&M, beginning of the season. UNC was a 3-point loss, okay? You take those 2 wins. How many plays were the difference between losing and winning in just those 2 games? So the difference that I expect between this year and next year was Miami makes those 1 or 2 plays to get those 1 or 2 wins, because you are 3, maybe 4 plays away from having a 7-5 record versus a 5-7 record.
And I'll give you a great example. You go look at what's going on up the street in Davie. Well, I'm sorry, and it's now Miami Gardens with the Dolphins, not in Davie. But Mike McDaniel came in, who knows offense and knows offensive line.
Right.
Frank, the coach, who knows offensive line, was a center, and Applebaum. And go look at the Dolphins now, and their line is playing better than it has in the last couple of years. It's gotten better in the running game, and that's because you've got people that know it. Well, guess what? The Canes also have the same thing with Mirabal.
Yep.
They have the same thing with Mario.
Yep.
They have the same thing with their coaches.
Yep.
So
they didn't forget how to coach in a year.
I know they have it. But next year, you will have your players. You have already kicked out the ones you don't want.
Right.
No more excuses now. Your players need to play a lot better than they played this year. But next year, you should have the guys you want. And I'm sure they'll have a couple of transfers come in to kind of help out in that transition. Guys that can help out right away, along with a couple of the young guys.
Right.
It'll be a mix. But you got to find a way to get better in those areas because the Canes aren't going anywhere if they're not winning the line of scrimmage.
Listen, football is the same at every level. Okay, my son is 5 years old, and his team down at Harrisfield and Homestead. Okay, shout out to the Steelers down there in Homestead. Their offensive line is not very good, so it's the same from 5-year-olds to high school to every level. Okay, XFL, you name it, and that's where that's where it begins and ends. But You know what? Again, of all the good that's coming in, you look at those recruits right now, and listen, Mario's building from the inside out. That's how McDaniel was looking good as a Niners offensive coordinator because John Lynch built from the inside out. Okay, and the Dolphins, they're following that blueprint. But
that's why
Mario's
Clemson, that's why Clemson kicks their ass all the time,
right?
Because they kick their ass up front right away,
right?
And then the rest is gravy after that. And Miami Kid J, you say Big O, strap it up because it looks like it'll take at least 4 years. I don't think so, not anymore. 4 and 5 years was the normal time back in the day. But we're not in the day anymore. We're now in transfer portal and NIL. So because of transfer portal and NIL, you will make shortcuts now. And they will be able to get and steal some guys from other programs because they're going to pay them the money they're not making there in their NIL program. So I think it will happen. It can't be 4 years, Miami Kid J. Like I told you, next year has to be a nice transition year where you start to improve. And year 3, Miami Kid J, not 4, like Norvell's doing. This year, what you're seeing from FSU and what you're seeing from Travis, as he has improved over the last couple of years, and hell, he's going to be a Heisman contender next year. Bet your ass on that. Well, year 3 for me is the year for Mario. Year 2 needs to have some serious improvement, and year 3, I need to know that you're one of the best teams in the conference. I'm not asking you to overtake Clemson in year 3, but I'm telling you, you better be maybe in the mix for that ACC championship game, at least.
Clemson may not be in the mix year 3.
Well, whatever, but at least in year 3, you better be in the mix is my question. I'm not asking for a national title. I'm not telling you to be in the playoffs, but you better be at the top of this conference.
At least the division.
Yes. No, for sure the division. For sure in year 3, you better.
Oh, that's right. There's no divisions as of next year. You're right, Sean.
Oh, that's right. There's no divisions. That's right. This is the last year of the division.
Good call.
I was hoping that they'd win the division this year.
But you want to know what
final
the thing
time
is?
They've won it once. This would have been the second time.
You want to know where I struggle to say that the amount of Pedro Farias kissed my ass, okay? Where I struggle about people saying that this team is void of talent is this. If they were void of talent, guys like Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State would have recruited them, number one. You want to know where the difference is in their development. These guys haven't been developed since Richt and Diaz were here.
But there aren't a lot of four. But they're right. There aren't a lot of 4 and 5 stars on this team. And
there actually are more than half the roster is comprised of 4 and 5 stars.
No, but you're talking about the young guys that just came in. I'm talking about like the guys that are playing right now.
When Manny was here, this roster was comprised. They call it the blue chip ratio. This roster has been comprised. It's comprised of over 50% of the roster is comprised of 4 and 5 star guys, even when Manny was here.
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right because I remember Manny Navarro actually writing an article about how voided they are of 4 and 5 stars. No, I disagree with that.
Yeah.
No. I completely disagree with that. I don't believe that is accurate, because I know that Manny Navarro's kind of gone over it on how they lack the 4 and 5 stars.
Well, ask him when he comes on, but I
know what he's going to say, because we've had that conversation. He told me they lack 4 and 5 stars. They probably have a bunch of 3 and 2 stars.
There's a bunch of 3 stars.
They have a couple of 4 or 5s, but they don't have like all these elite schools have, like Clemson and Alabama and Ohio State and Georgia and all. They don't even come close to those. He has the stats. He rolled them off. He told me. I forgot what it was exactly, but it's not good. By the way, Adam Burke, thank you for the love on the super chat. He says, how does a Pitt fan, Marino years, Dolphin fan because of Marino, now root for the Hurricanes because of Big O? Root for that game. I loved it. There you go, Adam. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Appreciate you. And Robert Jason also says, guys, pray we don't lose those 2 O-line recruits.
No, they're not.
Well, so far, Robert, that's been the amazing part about all of this. They haven't lost anybody, Mike. They lost the kid that was a Florida kid anyways. Right. Jaden Rashada was going there. Texas A&M roster has a cumulative score of 946.88. Miami has 2 5-star players, 44 4-star players, and 35 3-star players. The average Miami player graded out was at 89.65. Miami has a cumulative score of 85.99. So it has 44 4-star players. Wow.
You get a star. You get a star.
Okay.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, the blue chip, that's what they call it.
Well, not 5s.
No.
They only had a couple 5s. You said 4 and 5s. They're loaded with 4s.
Yeah, 4 and 5. Right. They have more 4s than 5s.
They got like 3 or 4. They have 2 5s.
Right, there you go.
44 4s.
Every team has more 4s than 5s.
No, but that's a ratio of 44 to 2. No.
It's called the blue chip ratio.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying that ratio of 4s to 5s.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not good.
That's not good. I mean, listen, a bunch of 4s is good.
Yeah, but there's teams, you look at the Ohio States and the Alabamas and everybody else, they got like probably 10 on the roster. Probably 10 5-star guys on the roster.
Easily.
Which we've had this conversation. That doesn't mean everything. Stars don't mean everything. Some of them are legit ratings and some of them are not. But
Juan Castillo, thank you, sir, for giving us the love on the super chat as we work on a Saturday night here live from Walk-Ons in Kendall. Just gave away a ton of prizes. Man, we had a good night here. Folks had a good time. Even though it was a terrible game, we had a good. Well, the food is excellent. The service is excellent. The ladies do a great job out here. The bar is absolutely phenomenal. So we encourage you. We are going to have more shows out here at Walk-Ons. We're working on that. In fact, we could be doing a Dolphins broadcast from here very, very soon in the month of December. So stay tuned for that. We'll have a hangout day because we've been doing it in studio the entire season. So maybe we might just be out here at Walk-Ons.
For the Niners.
And also maybe for the playoffs too. Now in the Super Bowl, we can't be here because we're going to be in Arizona. So, you know, we got better things to do. You know, we got to be in Arizona with the team, you know, covering it. So we'll have some fun with that.
Oh, I want to ask you a question. I want to get your opinion because I already have my opinion about it. When you have a guy that, or not a guy, but a team that clearly needs to test the opposition's secondary, and Miami didn't do that much tonight until the second half. You want to, but you can't. How do you go about that when you're offensive? If you're an offensive coordinator? To me, I look at it as you want to throw an alley-oop, but you got Norris Cole and Muggsy Bogues at your disposal. Like you want to do something, but you can't. What do you say to that?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do I say? Like,
what do you say to that? Like, if you have the want, I want to go downfield so bad,
right.
But I know if I call this play that has one blocker or no blockers, I'm already exposing Jake to no time to throw the ball, and even more. So you really can't. I'm trying to talk about the Gaddis play calling today.
Yeah, the same thing as Tua was going through for 2 years, and he had no time back there. It's a limited offense. You know what I mean?
I just wanted to hear your take on it.
It's a limited offense, but how do you adjust to that? Quick short passing game.
Quick short passing game, right?
Right. And running, of course.
And running, which we couldn't do. But we did see a bunch of the quick to the outside of quick to, and it resulted in nothing. But we saw it again. For those of you that may have not been paying attention,
that's the thing. It's hard to work the middle of the field when you're a young quarterback.
Of course,
because it's super dangerous.
Of course, 100%.
You know what I mean? That's why. Like tomorrow, you're gonna watch this cat who's been slicing the entire NFL up in the middle of the field, which is just stupid. Like most people go to the outsides because you have more one-on-one and all that. Mm-hmm. This dude is slicing people up in the middle, and it's really hard to do that. And so it's, again, the guy that could do that is injured. And we've seen enough of Jake, Mike, that we know that that's not who he is right now. He's not at that level. And then Jakari, again, bro, I'm not picking on Jakari. I'm not doing anything with Jakari. Leave him alone, bro. He's a young kid. He's not ready for this right now. It's really tough. And that's why with Gaddis, these are the things that you have to question with him at times. And even though they did actually connect on a couple of those downfield
late in the game.
Now Van Dyke was early on with Mallory. He was able to connect downfield.
Shouts out to him. I'm going to miss that guy, number 85. Caught his 14th touchdown pass as a Hurricane, and that leads every tight end in UM history. The most touchdown catches by a tight end in Miami Hurricanes history. That's a hell of a list. 14 of them.
Yeah, I have nothing but respect for Will Mallory. I thought he manned up this year. I thought he played with a lot of toughness, and I thought he was one of the few guys that you could count on. That's the sad part to say about this team. There aren't a lot of reliable players, guys that you can pretty much count on week in and week out to perform and do the things that they're supposed to do. And Will Mallory was one of those few guys that Canes fans could rely on every week. And that's kind of part of this mess, that there aren't a lot of reliable players. And Will Mallory he was a stud this year. He did the best he could do under the terrible conditions that he played on.
And everybody wants to talk about his lack of blocking, inline blocking. But, I mean, how many tight ends are asked to block at the next level?
I don't want to hear that shit. How many? It's a completely different game nowadays.
How many? Yeah. I mean,
there's very few of those guys.
As a matter of fact, if you can't catch the ball in the NFL, you don't have a job. Yeah. They're not asked to block much. They're asked to block, but not asked to block much.
There's a bunch of them that don't block. Please, give me a break. It's the same crap that we go through with Gesicki and all that. It's a different game now, man. So
they're a bigger playmaker.
The guy you have on your favorite team, those people are rare. George Kittle is not, those are few and far between, those guys.
I can count on one hand the blocking tight ends, the guys that are actually good in the end. You talk about.
Well, usually the guys that are good aren't really good at catching.
Who are the best blocking tight ends right now in the NFL? They're probably good pass catchers. Kittle, Kelsey, automatically.
Kelsey's not a great blocker
at all.
He's
not a great blocker, but he's probably one of the better ones.
He's okay. No, he's not really good or great or anything. Kittle is great.
Thank you.
Gronk will bend you over and throw you to the ground. Right. Kelsey does a nice job there, but he's nothing special blocking. Waller, who's a monster.
Not a great blocker.
Yeah, because that's not what he's there to do.
Nope. Exactly. They were drafted because they can make plays.
Yeah.
And in the NFL, it's about scoring points, man. I get it. You need to block to score points. You need to win the trenches, but these tight ends, they're used as playmakers, and I think Mallory's going to fit in nice in some team. That's how I see it.
There's no doubt somebody will get him in an offensive type team. Look, Miami. They want you to block, so it's a different ball game on their team. They have Gesicki this year, and they tried it out and whatever, but eventually they'll get a guy that they feel that can block because that's what they want in their scheme. Okay, just like San Francisco, because that's where he comes from. But that doesn't require that on every team out there in the NFL. Plenty of teams will get a tight end. Look, the Hockerson guy can block.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pretty good blocker. But but most guys out there, they're just pass catchers. The guy that the Falcons got, who's a monster.
Oh, yeah, the former Gator. I always Kyle Pitts, not a blocker. Unless you're a team that runs an offense like the Ravens, you're going to need a blocking tight end.
Yeah, Mark
and even
Andrews
their tight end, Andrews, he can catch the ball.
Mark Andrews can block. He can block. Okay, but there's very few of those guys that can block, and they're excellent pass catchers.
Right.
It's usually something like what the Dolphins have in their backup guy. What's it called? I'm thinking Lynch. What's the name of the backup guy for the Dolphins? Smythe. Smythe is a blocker, and he's an okay pass catcher. But he's not dynamic. Gesicki's dynamic. It's not easy, man. I mean, Kellen Winslow Sr., by the way, did not block. He was not a blocker.
And that was in the running the football age.
The Dolphins had a guy named Keith Jackson in the 80s. Keith Jackson wasn't there to block anybody. You know what I'm saying? It's so talked out, and it's not accurate. Yeah, do you want what's the guy that was with Dallas for Jason Witten? Yeah, do you want Jason Witten? Of course I want Jason Witten. Sure, I want Jason Witten. He was a fantastic. No, he was an excellent blocker and an excellent pass catcher. But those things are rare, man.
Mm-hmm.
Of course I want Gronk, but they're rare. So I'm going to have to, sometimes get two tight ends, and one might be more of a pass catcher and one might be more of a blocker.
Right.
That's the way it goes.
Right.
Can't do anything about it. Adam, again, thank you, sir. If tight end can't block, they're not tight ends. Well, that's not the way the game is played anymore. Adam, I appreciate the super chat, but that's not the way the game is played. This is a game of specialists now. In every sport, you have the guy that comes off the bench that only shoots 3-pointers and doesn't play D. What are you going to do? Right? It happens. Not every guy that shoots threes can play defense. That's the way it goes.
Let's talk about these. Want to go over the box score real quick before Manny comes on?
Do it.
So let's go over team stats first. Team stats. Obviously, the big number 42-16, Miami goes down. Miami scores all of their points in the second half, 3 in the third, 13 in the fourth. Scoring by quarter for Pittsburgh, 14, 7, and 7. Again, this is the first time since 2017 since Pittsburgh beats Miami. Miami was looking to extend their winning streak to 5 tonight. Obviously, fell short. Third down, Pitt was 4 of 8. Miami 3 of 12. Neither team converted on fourth downs. What did you guys think about that Borregales going for it? He probably would have had it if he decided to just keep running instead of hesitating, but it's
go for the field goal, bro. Would have had 3 more points on the board.
Total yards, Pitt 504, Miami 385. Passing, Miami actually outgained Pittsburgh in the air, 279 to Pittsburgh's 256. Miami 23 of 39, obviously in desperation mode. Pitt 18 of 28. And interceptions, Miami had 2. Miami did intercept Pitt 1 time. Rushing, Miami goes over 100, 106 on 3.9 yards per touch. Pittsburgh had 248 yards rushing on 35 carries. That's an average of 7.1 yards per carry. Your time of possession, Pitt 32 minutes, Miami 27. And then you go to individual stats. Mallory, 9 catches, 103 and a touch. Leading receiver for Pittsburgh was Wayne with 199 yards, catching 3 touchdowns, long of 66. Keaton Slovis, 256 on 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. And Israel Abinakanda, Wakanda Forever, 15 carries for $111 and 2 touchdowns. He wasn't supposed to play, remember? Ended up having a solid game. And that's pretty much all she wrote, man. Pitt totaled a grand total of 6 sacks. Miami didn't register a sack tonight. Actually, wait a minute. Yeah, 0 sacks for Miami's defense and 1 interception. Leading tackler for Miami was actually James Williams. Leading tackler for Pitt was Tyler Wills. Scores around the ACC. Let's start around the ACC first. Or you want to go national? Let's do the ACC first because I don't even think there were that many games this evening in the ACC. But in any event, Georgia beats Georgia Tech 37-14. South Carolina, again, that big one, 31-0 over Clemson in Death Valley. Clemson's 40-game home win streak goes none, not 41. Kentucky beats Louisville 26-13. ACC had a down day. Duke beats Wake Forest 34-31. Duke is 8-4 on the season, guys. Syracuse beats Boston College 32-23. And then that's all she wrote. Canceled was Virginia and Virginia Tech for obvious reasons.
Chris Jordan says, part of the problem with the Canes, nobody goes to their games. How do you expect them to get hyped for fan attendance you would see at Travelers High School? The problem is, Chris, it has nothing to do with attendance, my brother. Zero to do to attendance. So let me ask you, Chris, do you really think if they had 60,000 in the house, they were going to play any better? It's all based on talent, man. And they're not good enough. That's all it is. To think that, it's ridiculous. Attendance has always been screwed up in South Florida. Why? Because we don't go to your games unless you actually perform. That's just the way it goes. Ask the Marlins. Nobody goes. Nobody cares about the Marlins. Why? Because you suck. That's it, dude. I remember the Panthers, right? Not this ownership, but before with Huizinga. And they were crying about playing at Miami Arena, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we got to go up north where our fan base is at. Okay, great. All right, go move. So they moved, but they forgot to take the team with them. They left the team that actually went to the playoffs and to the Stanley Cup and that was filling up the Miami Arena and throwing all the rats on the ice. You know, in the middle of Overtown, we were selling out a Panthers game. Like all kinds of, like you couldn't buy Panther tickets for a couple of years at the Miami Arena in Overtown, Chris Jordan. My brother, I'm 56 years old. I know this town better than you ever will, Chris Jordan. Okay? This is a town where we have people that have come from all over the world and all over the country to live here. So it's a very transient town. Very few people are like me, born and raised here. I'm born in Belglade, Florida, in the northwest corner of Palm Beach County, raised in Little Havana, okay, and Hialeah. Very few people exist like me in South Florida that are real, true, blue South Floridians. Because there's so few of us, and there's so many of everybody else, to get them to get on board with our Panthers, our Marlins, our Heat, our Dolphins, our Canes. Because see, Chris Jordan, I'm old enough that I used to go to Canes games when there was nobody there.
Damn, you're old, oh.
Before Howard Schnellenberger, before all of that went on. And why? Because you weren't any good. That's why we don't go. We'd rather go to the beach. We'd rather go to the Keys. We'd rather go on a boat. We'd rather go to a movies, a restaurant, a concert. There's so much to do in South Florida. And we have so many people that aren't from here. So if you want to win them over, Marlins, Canes football, Panthers hockey when you were in Sunrise in the early years, why do you think they're filling up the arena now, Chris Jordan? Oh, because they went to the playoffs last year. Oh, I see. Now they're getting better crowds. It's all about winning in South Florida. It's never been about where you put the arena or the stadium. That's the other stupid thing I always hear, which came from the Panthers. Oh, no, let's move it over to Sunrise. Well, guess what? You sucked for 20 years, and nobody went to your games. So all of a sudden now your new ownership, about 6-7 years ago, decided, oh, we're going to start paying people and keeping our players. Well, now they started to develop a culture. There you go. So that's kind of the way it goes, Chris Jordan. So if you want to learn about South Florida, you can keep asking me instead of making statements that make no sense whatsoever. It doesn't matter where you put the stadium or the arena. You can put it in West Palm Beach or you can put it in Homestead. Doesn't matter where you put it. If you don't win, we don't go. That's just the way it goes. The Miami Heat get great attendance even on down years because for 25 years, Pat Riley's been winning. So if he has a down year or two, place is still practically sold out. Tickets, they may not all show up all the time when you're a little bad, but they bought your tickets. And that's just the way it goes. But that's how it goes in this town. So if you want support, you got to earn it in this town. We don't give you our discretionary income. You got to earn that goddamn right. And guess what? Canes football hasn't earned a goddamn thing. They don't deserve support from anybody. there shouldn't be 3 people in that stadium the way they play. That's the way it goes.
All right,
FIU, FAU. You don't win, you don't get anybody. You ever gone to an FIU game, Chris Jordan? Do you know why you don't go? Because they don't win. That's why. And by the way, that's why you're on the chat board and you're not at the stadium, because they're not winning. But thank you for watching. Adam Burke still waiting on the next Keith Byers, fat guy that can run, play tight end, play football, play running back. It's a good one, man. It's a good one. It's a good one.
Do-it-all guy?
Yeah, do-it-all guy. Kind of an H-back guy.
I'll tell you a do-it-all guy that's not fat, Cordell Patterson.
Cordarrelle
Patterson.
Yeah, but he doesn't do like those kind of things. He's not really a tight end. He doesn't play fullback.
Well, we've already established
but he is a returner and he is a receiver
and a running back.
And he can do running back stuff for you from the back. Yeah, he is. But the guy that he's describing, that's one of those, man, those guys are few and far between. Adam.
They happen at the college level some. Like Chris Herndon from Miami was a guy like that. Wasn't used as much.
It's hard to find him.
No, it is 100%.
He's got to be a smart son of a bitch.
Yes, he does.
Because he's got to know the blocking scheme at tight end and at fullback and running back, right? So he's got to know everything. And then he's got to know all the routes from both of the positions and things like that. Chris, I love those kind of players. I'm with you, but they're hard to find. I mean, Adam, they're really hard to find, Adam. Those kind of players are tough. Ohio Hurricane, thank you, sir. He says, do you think Gaddis returns? No, I don't. I think he gets fired. I really do. I think that's the one change on the coaching staff. I don't know anything. I'm not going by any insight that I have. I am just going by what I see. I would make a change with that one guy. Everybody else I'm fine with.
The only thing I'm thinking about that is if Mario is thinking, what would he have done with a full complement of players? I'm wondering if that's what Mario's thinking.
But you got to then take that chance that then you must be convinced he's the guy. Then you must have seen throughout the year that he must have reached some people and developed something. And then you say, well, you know what? If we give him more players, he'll be fine.
I do think that Miami can win with that offense if there's some tweaks to it. If there's some tweaks to it in the red zone. In the red zone, you need again. A lot of this is personnel, guys.
Oh yeah,
a lot of it is personnel. Again,
plus they had a whole bunch of bigger guys on the line.
Are you trying to throw an alley-oop when you have Norris Cole and Muggsy Bogues to your disposal? That's what this guy was working with this year, and a lot of it is personnel. You can't run what Michigan was running last year.
Reliability, because Zion is a guy that we've been talking about, and yet he's never available.
He hasn't played. Well, I think he was suited up for a couple of games this year and never really touched the field. I don't even know. I can't remember. Yeah, I don't even know.
It's been a disaster the last couple of years.
He was supposed to be the left tackle, but John Campbell was playing well the entire season, so much so that if and when Zion was coming back, he was going to be playing on the right side. That never happened. That never happened. But personnel has a lot to do with this. And say what you want. Oh, excuse this, excuse that. If you don't have the guys to run what you want to run, you're going to look bad. If you have two true freshmen starting on your offensive line, making their first starts in the middle of the season, you're going to have a problem. Guys, do you guys realize that Josh Gaddis changed the offense? And I'm not making this up. He said it 3 times this year. In the middle of the season, changing your offense 3 times. Isn't that unheard of? You already have a problem picking up the initial offense, and then you're going to change it 3 times in the middle of the season?
Well, he had a bad assessment early on of how he should run his offense, and that's why he had to make that second change. And I think the third change he's talking about is when the quarterback changed.
Of course, 100%.
And then obviously,
remember,
then the offense completely changes from Jakari to Tyler Van Dyke. It's 2 different offenses.
And then you were down 4 offensive linemen starters at one point in the season, and then at later in the season, you were only playing with 6 to 7 offensive linemen in total. And one of those starters was a banged up Ja'Kai Clark. I don't know, man.
Juan Castillo says, born in 64, Mercy Hospital, and been to many games since the OB. Hard to justify going to see this awful Canes product when I can watch it on my 55-inch at the pool, sipping on premium whiskey and cigars. There you go. I'm with you, Juan. Why the hell would you go to that game, waste all that money to go see that? You stay home, hang out with the family, friends, and enjoy it, dude. Hell yeah, brother. I'd rather be with my wife home and the doggies and watching the game. I would not pay to go see the Miami Hurricanes play. That is a ripoff, by the way.
Toxic Fart with a PH said at 11:58, how long would it take for Mario to say, we have a lot of work to do, we have to go to work? Oh, you want to answer that one?
That'll be in the first opening sentence about going through hell, and that's part of the work, and we're here to work.
He's been saying it all season.
And by the way, I just talked to Manny. They're still waiting for Mario. I told him, he's busy. He started now? He started? Okay. I said he's too busy kicking kids out of the stadium right now.
And I'm fine with that.
Mark Ardois says Mario and Alonso are going to get this done, but it is and will be for a bit longer. A painful process. This year's losses with little to no hope. Next year, some losses with hope for the future. Let's hope so, man. I'm hoping. I'm with you, Mark. I have total confidence. I saw Cristobal win at FIU, dude. I saw him build up Oregon, and they did a really and some of his players are going to the NFL, and we have one of them with the Miami Dolphins. I mean, we have one of Mario's players with the Miami Dolphins, and he's one of the 5 best players on the team.
That's why I'm not worried, man.
No, I'm not either. It sucks. This year is terrible.
You want to know what I think?
There's no excuses for what's gone on, but I'm not going to blame him when I've watched him do other things. And so I understand that he inherited a mess, but I got to give the man some time to build this thing up.
Mm-hmm.
So before I actually say I'm not happy with Mario, I don't think he's the guy, I need to see a couple of seasons of failure and that what's it called? Brian Flores. We got to year 3 and we're like, dude, you can't figure out the offense? You can't build an offensive staff? Get the hell out of here already. That's what I'm talking about. And I was unhappy with Flo in that second year with some of the things that went on already, but then getting into year 3, all the same problems were going on again. And I said, that's it. It's it. You gotta move on. You got to get rid of this guy. And I gave him some time, but you got to get rid of him. We can't do this to Mario. And by the way, listen, he's not going anywhere anyways. This university doesn't have the money to just write off the next. It's an 8-year contract, right?
Contract.
They're not going to write off the next 7 years, you idiots. They're not going to just write off that and the entire coaching staff. By the way,
because the next coach is not going to have the stuff that Mario has,
right? And he's not going to take your staff either. He's going to want his own staff. By the way, Tim Reynolds is reporting that Cam Kitchens gathered the Hurricanes before he left the locker room and basically threw down the gauntlet. Mario Cristobal said either be in or be out. Miami will be a championship program, Cristobal said. I agree with him.
I love it. I love it, bro.
I have no problem with this. Love it. But you got to go through hell before you get to heaven sometimes. And this is the hell that we've got to go through. I think Manny Navarro is ready to go. Then we are ready with our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes post-game reports.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
All right, there he is. The man fresh off the wake, fresh off the funeral of a season. The Vikings used to just light a ship and just send it off into the ocean, all that.
Yep,
they light up the entire stadium and just send it off into the ocean? Because, damn, that was ugly today. That was ugly, Manny.
Yeah, not the win of the season, that's for sure. I thought it would be a difficult game for Miami to win, all things considered. You're playing with an injured Tyler Van Dyke, who you knew was trying to tough it out, knowing Pittsburgh had won 3 games in a row and was playing really, really well. But I didn't expect 42-16 or 35-3 in the third quarter. I thought they would have shown up and played a little bit better than that.
What was the story with Tyler Van Dyke?
Well, I told you guys last Saturday, right, that he was going to be the starter, and you guys were like, "Oh, he knows something." Well, I knew that he was going to give it a shot. The hit that he took there on the 8th pass, the one that was intercepted. If you go back and you look at that replay closely, the linebacker who hit him on the play for Pitt kind of dug his arm into the dirt.
Yeah.
And we know this kind of stuff happens in football, right? You know what, you're trying to knock the other guy out, trying to keep him out of the game, and well, it worked. Took Tyler right out of the game, and unfortunate for him. But again, it looks like one of those injuries that the only way it heals is with either surgery or with time. And he played hurt, and that's what happens when you play hurt.
Manny, do you have any insight as to what happened after the game with Cam Kitchens and was it who tweeted it, Sean? It was Tim Reynolds, saying that you're either all in or all out, and he threw the gauntlet. Did Mario speak on that? Did you hear about anything that happened with Cam Kitchens?
Yeah, Mario spoke on that just a few minutes ago. Said that Cam Kitchens, told his teammates, gathered them together, told them he loved them, and was like, "Look, you're either with us or you're out of here. Get on the first train out." And so he's taking leadership of that locker room. Good sign, right? That you at least have a couple of young guys that want to take leadership of that locker room. I think that's an Ed Reed influence on him, to be honest with you. That's why you have some of those guys around, right? That's why you keep them in the building. I think Cam kind of took a page out of that and said, look, yeah, the season sucked. It was horrible. Not what we wanted, but I'm still here. I'm going to be here. Come play with me and let's turn this thing around. So that's a good sign, right?
Good sign. Yeah. Good sign. Nobody expected Miami not to make a bowl. There was a lot of things they expected this year, a lot of things that they didn't expect this year. I don't think that not making a bowl game was one of them. How much do you think that having to unlearn bad habits from previous regimes had to do with the so many setbacks this season? Because I'm looking at Miami's 5-7 record, and I'm looking at the two of the closest losses that they had. UNC was 3 points, and I think the other one was, I forget, there was another, A&M, okay? You're looking at maybe 2 to 4 plays where they could have been maybe wins, right? So going into next season, what is it that you're expecting to see different? Games that they lost close to probably win, and how much of that bad influence from past regimes bring into this 5-7 record?
Well, Mike, I mean, those are two different subjects, so I'll attack them differently. Number one, the bad habits and the coaching. Look, when you go through as many coordinators and assistant coaches as these kids have in the last 5 years, just think about it, right? I mean, 5 years ago, I was in the freezing cold at the Pinstripe Bowl 2 days before Mark Richt announced, this was it. He was stepping down because of health reasons. Well, Manny Diaz takes over. The offense, they go through that horrible 6-7 season, getting shut out at the end, losing to FIU, losing to Duke and Louisiana Tech. He changes the coaching staff, brings in Rhett Lashley. You go through a whole new system. I mean, those kind of things just compound. The more change you have, the harder it is to develop any sort of consistency. I think there were a lot of times this year that we saw these players look lost, right? Especially on defense, sometimes on offense, right? How many times did they get delay of game penalties or they had to call timeout to avoid those delay of game penalties because there was confusion? Those things are a product of all the change that you have. And so to me, that's one issue. And then as far as the records, people are going to sit here and say, oh, Manny Diaz was a better coach. They went 7-5 last year. The difference to me, Mike, being around the sport for 25 years, and I answered this in one of my mailbag questions this week because people were like, man, these North Carolina teams in the ACC, right, they're all falling flat on their face. North Carolina loses 2 games to end the season. Duke stumbles towards the end. Wake Forest won their last game, but they struggled. And I'm thinking to myself, like, do you guys not realize that there's not much in the way of separation and mediocrity? That there's really only a handful of teams every single year that should be expected to win 10, 11, 12 games? Miami's nowhere near that group, right? I mean, they had one 10-win season since joining the ACC. They've been mediocre for over a decade now. And so you can lose to Middle Tennessee State one year, and then another year you can go on the road and beat Pittsburgh the year they won the ACC title. Exactly. And it doesn't make any sense. Why? Right. Because you're one hot quarterback or one injury or 2 injuries away from being a completely different team. And why is that? Because you don't have the championship depth of the rest of the teams that do win.
And by the way, the only difference between 5 wins this year and 7 wins last year was Tyler Van Dyke being injured.
Correct.
That's it. If Tyler Van Dyke's healthy, you probably win an extra 2 games.
I asked you that on purpose, man. Thank you so much. I asked that on purpose. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, I mean, it's just it's ridiculous. Now, I will say this, as crappy as this season's been, somehow or another, their class has held strong.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, and really that's all that matters here, because we knew when he took over this program that it was a matter of bringing in depth and talent and upgrading the level of skill that you had. Let's go back to the preseason for a second. Wide receiver, huge concern going into the year, okay? And it remained that pretty much all the way through. You had Colby Young show you some flashes, but there's nobody on this roster that you say going into next year, man, they look awesome at receiver. This guy's going to be a stud. Linebacker, yeah, Wesley Bassett finally got into the starting lineup the last 3 games of the season. But you still need more guys at that linebacker position. You still are not tackling the way you're supposed to.
No.
There's a lot of areas in terms of personnel that need to be upgraded, and I firmly believe, and I've told you guys this, I think last week right after the Clemson game, I was told there's going to be at least 24 transfers, guys that head out of this program that have eligibility left. And so far, we've had, I think a quarter of that, 6 or 7 guys formally announced that. It's going to go into the 20s. And I think between the recruiting class and the transfers, there will be 35 to 40 new faces on this roster come spring football.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that's kind of what
purging.
And by the way, that's what Mario needs.
Yes.
And I would imagine that the transfer portal is also going to be huge here, because he can't have a year next year where everybody's young. So, Manny, he's going to have to find some veterans, guys that have a year or 2 left of eligibility that want to transfer in. And who knows, maybe Mr. Ruiz would, accommodate that kind of stuff to help a couple of those guys in, because you've got to have a more successful season next year in the win column, right, Manny? You can't go and have a total rebuild disaster where it's a whole bunch of young guys and we're like, oh, no, it's a transition year and you win another 5 games. I don't think they can afford to do that.
No, I think at a minimum, you probably need to win 8 to 9 games last year to show any real level of progress. And I think more than anything, you have to show that you're building something, that players are getting better, because that's going to be the number one criticism going into the offseason is who on this roster got better. There's a handful of guys you can point to, right? You can point to Darrell Jackson on the defensive line, a kid who played a little bit at Maryland, came in, took a big step as a second-year player. You can point to Cam Kitchens, right? He took a step forward. You can point to guys like Inez Cooper, who started a bunch of games for you down the stretch as a true freshman and showed you some promise. But there's a lot of other areas where you're still kind of like, okay, where did they get better? So I think that's going to be the number one issue for this team, is showing the level of improvement. And the one thing I would warn all fans is the transfer portal does work each way, okay? And there are some good players on this team that are going to have a lot of money thrown at them. I'm not talking about John Ruiz. I'm talking about other programs like the University of Florida who want to take some of these guys and bring them up and can tell them, well, listen, come play in the SEC, a real conference, not that ACC where you guys, the conference champion has no shot of making the playoff. You come play in our conference and you'll have NFL scouts, you'll have a lot of people. So those things are going to sell, and those are some of the hurdles that Mario has to compete against.
The last thing I have for you, Manny, in this tragic 2022 season, year 1 of Mario Cristobal, is not a question, more of a statement. And then you could, respond to it as you see fit. But everybody wants to talk about the talent that Miami does not have, and I disagree with that a lot, because a lot of these guys were recruited by the heavyweights of college football, right? The difference between now and then from when they were recruited highly at a high school is that those highly recruited players are still high school talents. They're not developed 2 and 3 years down the road as these other teams have developed their high school talent. So they're in 2-3 years better in college football playing wise, whether as these recruits that Miami has, they're still playing at a high school level. And I think that's the main difference. They weren't developed. They will with this staff. And this is year 1, baby.
Well, I agree in that regard. I think, talent development has to be paramount here moving forward. And the other thing I would say is Miami has to start recruiting bigger guys. They need more physical specimens on this team. Yes. You see them line up week to week to week, and they are the smaller team. And you could sit here and say weight room. No, I disagree with you. A lot of this is, physically, you have to get bigger players. And I think that's what you're going to see Mario go out and do get the 6'6", 350-pound offensive lineman, get the 6'3", 320-pound defensive tackles and defensive ends, because physically they're getting their asses whipped in a lot of areas. And I think that is a huge issue for this program. And with all due respect to South Florida, okay, I've worked in this city for a long time covering high school recruiting. There are too many guys that are overhyped and overranked coming out of South Florida. And Mario has to go out and recruit nationally. The kids in our area, God bless them. Some of them are really talented, do a great job winning high school championships. Some of these guys are 5'9", 5'10", 175 pounds. They're fast. They win on athletic. When you get to college, you got to be a big mother effer. And you got to be able to move bodies physically. South Florida doesn't have a lot of those big body guys.
No.
And so to me, you have to go out to other areas and find them. And I would say football IQ. Oh, that is a huge factor in this.
Oh my God, yes. There are a lot of
there's just so many
so
many mental breakdowns. So Mario's going to do more national recruiting, and I think that is ultimately the solution to all of this.
Yeah, James Williams' play, that was pure frustrations right there. That was like, dude, you can't do that. You can't play the game that way. All right, what are you working on, Manny, over at the Athletics, so folks can check you out, my friend?
Well, we'll have plenty of reaction from this one, and my thoughts, and then a whole lot of transfer portal and recruiting coverage in the weeks to come, because that'll be dominating the headlines as well as any coaching changes.
Follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro and catch his work there at The Athletic. Better yet, subscribe like I do, like Mike does, like Sean does. Subscribe to The Athletic so you can get all the scoopage all over the country, all kinds of leagues. Manny, as always, appreciate you, my brother. We'll catch up throughout the week.
All right, brother. Take care, guys.
You got it. There you go. The great Manny Navarro. That is our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes postgame report.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
I am honored. God is in the live chat, and he says, I forgive Big O. So I've been forgiven by God. So, I mean, my night is complete. Right? Canes sucked. It was a tough thing to watch all night.
But you were forgiven.
But I was forgiven. And a lot of people won prizes today. So, a lot of things went well today. I was forgiven, and people won prizes. And we ate some really good food here at Walk-Ons, by the way. We eat a lot of really good food here at Walk-Ons. On behalf of Sean Stanley, who masters his entire platform, he is the best. Chad Shobe also contributes, and we love him. Mike McCoy, he is, he's hurting right now. He'll be crying in his beer.
I'm gonna go to the bar.
Yeah, he'll be crying in the beer. That's what he's going to be doing. And then, of course, on behalf of Manny Navarro, who joined us, Gabby Arrudia in our pregame show. And what was the name of the young man? Mr. Guitar Hero himself.
Yes. Oh,
Heights? Heil.
What's his name?
Noah Heil.
Yes.
From 247 Sports. We thank Noah Heil. We thank, of course, exceptional producer BV.
Pittsburgh
does an excellent job here with us. As always, BV coming through, producing in a big-time way. And we thank, of course, all the great people out here, Yanira, Joe, everybody, Mr. Semino, the chef out here, all the great folks out here at Walk-Ons. And come on out here to Walk-Ons, right around 162nd and right off of Kendall Drive. Great food. Great atmosphere, big, giant, beautiful bar, TVs everywhere. You won't miss the action. And we'll be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., to get you ready for the Miami Dolphins to take on the Houston Texans. And hopefully they will improve to 8-3 and take over first place in the AFC East. You all be good out there. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you if you reach out to our sponsors. If you sent in a donation, remember you can always make a donation through Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. We will see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place, same bat channel. Have a great one.
This has been the Edge Energy Drink Miami Hurricanes Postgame Show on the Sports Talk 305 Network. Live from Walk On Sports Bistro in Kendall. The show is mastered by Sean Stanley and Chad Shope. When you're looking for the finest energy drink on the planet, you can only get it delivered to your home or office by going to myedgedrink.com. Use your code Big O and get 10% off an energy drink that's delicious, smooth, and has zero aftertaste. Please subscribe to our platform by searching Big O Radio Show on all digital avenues. On behalf of our staff, we thank you for supporting us. Have a fantastic week.